Hey, I'm the communication doc, and I'm actually on vacation in a place called Helen, Georgia, and it's in the mountains of Georgia, and it's a Bavarian style village where all of the architecture and the restaurants and everything resemble basically being in Germany. And so I'm going to show you a little picture of the place where we're staying so you can see the architecture. Yeah, so it's really beautiful and peaceful. And being in this place kind of reminds me of being in other cultures. I've never actually been to Germany, but I have traveled overseas in several different cultures. And so today I want to talk about how we can communicate better through cultural diversity. Now, we have a variety of cultures. You could actually go to another country, or you could be dealing with someone who is perhaps of a different race or ethnicity, or even from a different part of the country, or who has a disability. And all of those can change the way that person communicates. And so here's my 3-step method for better dealing with people and communicating with people who are culturally diverse from you. Now, you're going to find a lot of suggestions on how to do this. And so this is not comprehensive. This is just my 3-step method. And I'm going to use the term map. For those of you who are older, you might remember actually using a map to navigate somewhere. Those of you who are younger, you use your phone, your GPS, but MAP is going to stand for motivation, acquisition, and then practice platinum, and I'll explain that in a second. So first of all, motivation. No matter what somebody tries to teach you, you will never learn how to better communicate with people of other cultures or cultural diversity if you aren't motivated to. So if you actually want to learn about other people and want to understand what other people's experiences and cultures are like, that's the motivation. That's something that nobody can give you. So hopefully you are interested in learning about other people and looking at things from other people's perspectives. So that's the M, motivation. The A is acquisition. Anytime you go to interact with people from another culture, you should always get information or acquire information. You can do that in a couple ways. First of all, you can research. We have all kinds of information on the internet available to us that you can acquire and learn about the other cultures. Now, especially when you go to another country, not only do they speak a different language often, but they also communicate differently non-verbally, especially in a type of gesture called emblems, which are gestures that have a pretty direct verbal translation. So just like languages vary, emblems vary. So things like shaking your head yes and no, shrugging for I don't know, the okay hand sign, those can vary a lot in other cultures and can even be offensive depending on the culture you're in. So you should really investigate how their nonverbal communication, how their manners, their greetings, their customs differ. The other thing you can do is simply ask. So you can acquire information by asking people. When you get to another culture, I've found that people are more than willing to explain things to you and to help you understand and navigate their culture when you come with an open mind and you're willing to ask. So how do they do this here? How do you greet people? How do you respond this way non-verbally? People are really willing to give you information if you ask. And then third, the platinum rule. Okay, so we're going to practice the platinum rule. And you've heard of the golden rule. The golden rule says, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And that is great because, frankly, far too many of us are very self-centered and we only look at things from our perspective. So doing unto others as you would have them do unto you means you got to think about, how do I want others to treat me? And I'm going to treat them that way. But the platinum rule goes beyond that. The platinum rule actually says, do unto others as you think they would want you to do unto them. And that actually takes you out of the middle of the equation. The golden rule still focuses on you. How do I want to be treated? Well, I'm going to treat other people that way. But the platinum rule puts the other person at the center of it and says, okay, based on what I know about this other person, the knowledge I've acquired, or by asking them, I'm going to treat this other person the way they want to be treated. And I'll give you a quick example. So I'm disabled, I'm legally blind, and let's say I'm struggling with reading something. Well, you might, as a person who's a good Samaritan want to come up and help me read it, offer to read it for me. And I probably would accept that if I was really struggling. But just because I do that doesn't mean somebody else who's visually impaired would also want you to do the same thing. So it's better to ask than to assume. You know what happens when you assume. And when you ask, then you know if the person actually wants your help or not, as opposed to assuming that they do and then possibly being offensive in some way. So think about how the other person might want to be treated and then treat them that way. So MAP, motivation, acquisition, and practice that platinum rule. I may do another video from here in Helen when I get to the downtown area because it's quite lovely and I think you might enjoy the scenery, and hey, come visit here sometime. And until then, subscribe and follow me on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, and let's get communication healthy.